Amid the backdrop of a possible Russian invasion of Ukraine, President Biden agreed to send thousands more troops to Eastern Europe to bolster NATO allies in the region. They'll be under U.S. command, not NATO command. We may learn this morning when they'll deploy. Joining me on the morning show, foreign policy expert, a former UN ambassador and director of the Public Service Leadership Program at UNF, Nancy Soderberg. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the Ukraine-Russia standoff alarms regional neighbors, and one Ukrainian ally likened it to living at the foot of a volcano waiting for it to blow. What reaction might this prompt from Vladimir Putin? Because the threat of sanctions doesn't seem to bother him.
Well, I think he's about to face the toughest sanctions ever, including potentially being cut off from European banks, which will be unprecedented and will bite. The deployment of U.S. troops to the border of Russia, they're going to be sending them to Germany, Poland, and Romania, is giving Putin exactly what he doesn't want, which is a reinforced NATO on his border. And he's got to understand that the more he threatens Ukraine, the more he does to undermine the sovereignty of Ukraine, the more the price is going to go up to him. He's on a mission to recreate the Soviet Union. It's not going to work.
So the Pentagon press secretary, John Kirby, repeatedly declined to say whether the deployment was in response to fears that Russia could attack a NATO country, stressing that Vladimir Putin's intentions are unclear and that armed conflict could be unpredictable. You're a seasoned diplomat, so you've got to read between the lines here. Is he really just saying we're there to deter a threat and put skin in the game, or something more?
I think it's a testing going on. Putin's trying to see how far he can push the West. He wants to recreate the Soviet Union. He's already taken a piece of Ukraine, the Crimea in 2014, essentially with very little cost. And he's testing. And what the Biden administration, along with our allies in Europe, are trying to say is let's raise the bar to just realize how costly any incursion into Ukraine is going to be. It is unclear what that bar is for Putin. If we cut off his access to the banks, we make it clear that NATO is going to be more in his face if he moves that forward. That may change his calculation. It's the game of diplomacy and push and pull. I think the analysts and the intelligence community feel he is very serious about at least taking another piece of Ukraine, if not invading the entire country. But we don't know how far he's going to go. And I'm not sure he's made a decision. I think he's testing it. And what's important for the U.S. and for the Biden administration and our European allies is to stand united. Sanctions only work if everyone's got skin in the game. NATO is an alliance that is designed to protect all countries. An attack on one is an attack on all. They take that very seriously. So the mood music of moving troops there to say we will take this very seriously may change Putin's calculation. He may go ahead and do it anyway and damn the cost. That's why this is so important and so intense right now. And I think we're right to up the game and try and push back on him and put a thick wall saying, you go into Ukraine, this is what you're going to face. You make your own decisions. And hopefully he'll think twice before doing it.
It's interesting to note that yesterday the Biden administration, backed off on the use of the word imminent when it comes to, basically the Russian troops invading Ukraine. And Putin basically said, there's room for negotiation. So what more does the Biden administration have to do?
Well, I think they need to keep upping the ante until they get Putin to back down and be serious about their threats if he does go into Ukraine. Whether it's imminent or not, we don't know. Putin has moved over 100,000 troops into the border of Ukraine, also through Belarus. You don't do that just as an exercise. He has the capability to come in and overwhelm Ukraine. We're also sending arms to Ukraine so they can defend themselves if that's the case. But it will be a very bloody, costly war. And I think Putin is miscalculating if he thinks he can invade and not see body bags going back to Moscow and to the villages across the Soviet Union. So I think we're doing the right thing. The trick is to keep Europe united on this, and they're in a tough spot. They get a lot of energy from Russia. They don't want to have a colder winter. Russia's already made it clear that they'll cut supplies. We can supply a lot of energy to Europe, but this is going to be a dance that is going to continue until Putin makes a decision, either go in or face the consequences, which are rising to him every day.
This is a very dangerous political chess game. Nancy Soderberg, always a pleasure, and you always offer some very interesting insight. Appreciate you.